Hello, hello, African Queen family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Karibuni sana to African Queen Mo channel and also hosting Africa 55. Yes. All my Africa 55 team. How are you doing, guys? We're all members of the same team. We all need to come and show these people that we exist. We are here. So today we have a very important topic. I wanted to, first of all, well, before I go on, I want to say thank you so much for those subscribers that have come on from 800. We're heading off into 1,000. Please share my videos with your friends. Please remember to thumbs up my videos. Please remember to subscribe. Press the notification button. There's a bell over there. Make sure that you press that bell so that you know when my videos are coming up. Those of you who have come onto my channel recently, my name is African Queen Mo, and I'm also a co-founder of the Africa 55 group. The Africa 55 group is an informal group that meets online, and we discuss issues that are of importance to Africa and the world. So if you happen to be African, welcome. If you happen to not be African, welcome anyway, because we're a member of the world community, aren't we? So at the moment, we are going through a lot of things in Africa, but we need to identify issues one by one to digest, because one thing you probably experience as well as I do is the plethora of information that is out there. It's too much, it just feels overwhelming sometimes, doesn't it? So much to digest, so little time. What do we concentrate on? What do we focus on? We know right now we're going through climate change, we're going through economic recession, a leadership crisis that is global. We are going through so much, We also have mental health problems, but we can only handle things one at a time. So at the moment, because of the way the world is structured, it's a little bit difficult to focus and say, I'm only going to focus on family issues. I'm only going to focus on politics. No. So allow me a little room, to kind of like move within my comfort zone, and you come along with me. Yeah, welcome. Karibu sana. I hope that you're going to be part of my family, part of the African Queen family, as a princess, fellow queen, fellow king. Welcome, Karibu. All right, today we have a very important topic to discuss. Throughout my travels, and I've traveled a lot in the world, I've met with so many different people, either in transit, on the flight, chatting, or even in buses or on the ground, I've met a lot of people all over the whole world. So it's very difficult for me only to support one group of people because I've been exposed to so many people. And you can see the strengths and the weaknesses of every society. Why am I leading to this? Many women have not had the opportunity to take advantage of many of life's givings. So for example, education, many women and many girls did not actually have access to education. Despite the gains, the women's liberation movement moved to educate the girl child, the promotion of girl child initiatives. The reason why these projects came into place is because of the realization that women and girls were being left behind and that societies, cultures were not promoting the advancement of the female. And in traditional African society, if you look at the things like the carvings and the paintings in caves, and also the carvings and paintings that are done by traditional people, you realize that actually Africans have always valued women, children, and men as a family unit, that has been our tradition. So the idea of the patriarchal idea, the very blatant omission of the role of a woman, for example. So we have, like, for example, in Christianity, where we focus only on the child, the father, and the spirit, that God is Father, Son, and Spirit. And with the omission of women, if you really look at it very deeply, you ask yourself, why is it that a woman has to be asexual and deny her sexuality to be acceptable or to be considered pure and holy and acceptable? For example, the story in Christianity of the Mother Mary, who conceived a virgin birth and did not have sex to have Jesus. Because sex, I believe, is viewed as unclean, unholy. So she was without any blemish because she never had sex, because she had this child outside of sexuality. And then the story of the woman who was bleeding, who bled for days, and everybody was running from her. And she touched the hem of Jesus's clothes and she became clean again and she stopped bleeding. So what does this say about the woman's natural fertility cycle, her periods? What does this actually say about the woman's biology? What is the Bible actually saying about women? By the way, I was brought up in a Christian home where I had access to a Christian school, a Catholic school, which taught me Christianity. We had the Christian religious education. For some of you who are ex-Musangarians, hello there, Loreto School. So I'm not here to fight any religion. I'm not here to argue and say that Christianity is this way or that way. I would like you guys to actually look at where are we coming from when we adopt all these views and beliefs about women, what a woman should be, what a woman should not be, okay? How we view a woman, how we view a woman's body, how we view the role of a woman in society, whether we need that reproductive part of women in society, which is currently under attack, as you are aware. I mention all of this because I'm going to bring you the general picture, okay, of society and where it has placed women. It has placed women in this impossible place where women must be, to be pure and acceptable in society, they must be asexual, okay? Or they must be pious. They may not desire sex. They should be able to even probably have children without having sex, yeah? Like Mother Mary. So Mary was the purest form of femininity, a purest form of a woman, which every woman will never achieve, ever. Okay, but in traditional African society, if you look at the traditional carvings and if you look at the traditional art pieces, you will always see the three deity, which is the child, the mother, and the father. The family, the male, the female, and the child. Always a picture of a mother holding a baby and a man holding his wife and baby. Because that is what African tradition, African spirituality promoted. The family, okay? It revered the roles of each individual, and we had gender roles and we had roles to play. So I would like us, okay, to have an open mind, whether you're Catholic, Christian, Muslim, Indian, whatever you are. I'd like you to have an open mind as you watch my videos and as you listen to my arguments, okay? Because I know that you too also question the same things that I question, okay? Why is it that women are presented in this light? So what happens is that with the advent of the arrival of the missionaries into Africa, okay, they brought on a very patriarchal approach to life, a very patriarchal approach to religion, to beliefs, to spirituality, which said that the man is the head of the home, a woman is to submit to a man, and a child is to be seen and literally not heard. Okay, but in traditional African society, a woman's role was to look after and to nurture her children, okay, to look after the home ground. The man's role was to go out and hunt and bring back the food, and the woman was to help and go and hunt or gather, or to go and be an agriculturalist and build. And men and women had different roles. There were masons, there were women who were prophets, there were women who were spiritualists in our traditional African society. And I believe a woman's place was revealed. A woman was considered a mother first. And if at all a woman was not able to have children, there were many remedies, there were many traditional herbs and medications to try to help her to have children. And if she could not have children, then she was always given an opportunity to look after other people's children, okay, to be that auntie, to be that person in the family that also provides nurturing to people's children. Talking about all of this because boy child, I would like you to participate in this, okay? The men, they call themselves boy children in Kenya. So I'm also talking to boy child. I'm talking to boy child because I have a boy child. I have a son. I also have a boy child who's my husband. It's part of the boy child family, okay? There are boy children that we love. There are fathers, there are brothers, there are, our husbands and our sons and our nephews. So, this is not just a story to bash men. No, I'm not here to bash men in any way, shape or form. I'm just here to present the situation as we have been presented it by our societies and by the religions that we, were brought up in. So I'm struggling to keep in the light so that you can see me. Okay, guys. So basically, now this brings me to the story of the current situation right now, which is really, really sad, which is the fact that we are losing a lot of women who are mostly domestic workers. We are losing a lot of women in very many ways, okay, through murder, through disappearances, and through work. So women are losing their lives through work, in the family, in domestic situations. They're losing their lives, okay, in ways that are unimaginable today. Almost as if the society has decided that women are no longer valuable or have forgotten the value of women. You know, society has forgotten the place of women. Society has undervalued women so much that women have been placed in the front line of the battle. Okay, in the battle for resources, women have been placed in the front line. And as a result, many women are losing their lives. Okay, let me give you some few statistics here. I'll go back to my country of Kenya here. Kenya's foreign ministry says, this is an article that I'm reading here. Okay, this is by VOA. And the article says, the Kenyan foreign ministry says 89 Kenyans, most of them domestic workers, have died in Saudi Arabia in the past 2 years. Saudi authorities told their Kenyan counterparts that most of the deaths were from cardiac arrest. But abuse of foreign domestic workers has long been a problem in Saudi Arabia, and the Kenyan ministry this week admitted that it never conducted independent investigations. So, if the Kenyan ministry did not conduct independent investigations, why is it relying on third-party reports, especially from the country where these women are dying? And this is September 2021. Appearing before Parliament's Labour Committee, Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Macharia Kamau said Thursday, all the Kenyan deaths in Saudi Arabia over the last 2 years are suspicious. All 89 deaths in 2021 are suspicious. When they say domestic workers, they're actually referring to women, because all these are women who have died. Okay? So, Kamau blamed the Ministry of Labour for failing to do its job to protect Kenyan workers. There are very many people. There's this lady, Caroline Alwatch, 24, was among the 41 Kenyans who have died in Saudi Arabia. Alwatch signed an employment contract for 2 years as a domestic worker to earn tuition fees for the remaining 2 years of her education. Alwatch wanted to be a high school teacher. Her sister, Belle Award, told Voice of Africa before her death her sister had feared for her life. Okay? So her mother got the sad news. Most of these people get the sad news 4 to 5 months after the person has already died. When they did the post-mortem in Saudi Arabia, they said that they suspect that they had beaten her before killing her. They saw scratches on her face. She had a deep cut around her chest. She was struck by something. Okay? So even the person who did the post-mortem here did not explain it to us. I am still in the dark. So here we are. We have at least 100,000 Kenyans working in Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Most of these people are domestic workers or doing other menial jobs. And Amnesty International itself said, workers in the Middle East often complain of a lack of payment for their work, forced labor, physical abuse, rape, and dangerous working conditions.
Walking and taking in Uhuru Park's fresh air is this 35-year-old's definition of freedom. It's been over a year since she felt this relaxed, this free. She's among the 23 Kenyan girls who jetted back Monday morning from Saudi Arabia, a land that held the promise of good tidings but only brought suffering and pain, this mother tells me. I ask why she opted to go to Saudi.
Nilipata shida, tumeachana na bwana, watoto hawana pesa ya shule. Nikaangalia nikaona nimetafuta Kenya kazi hakuna, nikaona niende Saudia.
Alinilazimisha nilale na yeye, kanishukulia kisu. Baadaye nilipokataa akaniambia ataniua. Sijui nianzishe wapi nimalizie wapi juu zile tabu nimefanya hapa Saudi hata.
And if she had heard of the misfortunes of those who had gone before her.
Mtu usikia watu wanaenda wanateseka lakini unajaribu bahati yako.
Her contract stated she'd be a domestic worker in one of the homes and would be paid an average 16,000 shillings monthly, but it was not to be.
Sikuwa nalipwa, unafanyishwa kazi mingi. Waliniambia mimi contract nilisign ni nyumba moja. Kufika pale napata napelekwa kwa my sisters, nilikuwa nafanya nyumba 8.
She decided to flee from her employer but had no way back home since her employer had confiscated her passport. Not even the embassy could help her, she says.
Embassy hakuna vile wanakusaidia. Wanakwambia lazima akupeleke pale deportation center. Unaenda unagoja, ukiwa mmoja huwezi pelekwa deportation center. Unagoja mpaka mkuwe wengi. Mkiwa wengi ndo wananiitia polisi, wanakuja wanawachukua.
There are 108 women in the deportation camp, according to her, desperate to return home. The director for diaspora in the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Washington Olo, confirming that 24 more will arrive in Kenya Tuesday. Officials hopeful to airlift all stranded workers by the end of the week. In September last year, the Ministry of Labour announced it had suspended the recruitment of Kenyans to the Middle East and suspended licenses of all recruitment agencies in the country following reports of mistreatment of Kenyan domestic workers. Evelyn Wamboi, Monday Special.
Concerns abroad but affecting Kenyans. For thousands of women that board a flight to Saudi Arabia to secure jobs as domestic workers, it is a gamble on whether they will face abuse at the hands of their employers. The increase in reports of inhumane working conditions in the Middle East has been a thorn in the side of Kenya's labor force. Gina Kirori spoke to a 25-year-old who is currently stuck in Saudi Arabia and is desperate to come back home.
When Patricia Wanja was cleaning the home of her Saudi Arabia employer, a gun placed on the coffee table sent chills down her spine, only adding to the web of trauma that she has endured in the weeks that she has been working as a domestic worker in the Middle East Kingdom.
I was just so terrified. I was just so terrified. I just held it with a rag, the rag I was cleaning with, and I felt it was lighter and I just left it.
While Wanja expected to earn 30,000 shillings a month in Saudi Arabia, the agency that facilitated her employment, identified as Mahara Human Resources Company, ended up paying her 25,983 shillings.
I look at myself and I see the things going on, but when I remember that if I complain, I may be in prison, I just hold back. I just hold back and work as if nothing is wrong. Mahara, please.
Wanja says that she has fallen ill during the weeks that she has been at her employer's home, but no efforts have been made to take her to any medical facility, which goes against the terms of her contract.
And I got so scared.
Her motivation for returning home is to see her two children once again, especially since they are aged 1 and 7 respectively.
When I was coming here, I had told my daughter that I'm coming here so that we can build a home for ourselves, so that I can have some savings. And
the desperation for lucrative job offers in Middle Eastern countries has been behind the decision by many women to travel to a foreign land, as they say job opportunities in Kenya are hard to come by. The surge in reports of women being exploited and abused by their employers in the Middle East led to the government requiring all agencies recruiting Kenyans seeking employment in Saudi Arabia to pay 1.5 million shillings as a security bond in 2019. The agreement also required any Kenyan domestic worker to be paid an average salary of 30,000 shillings. Wanja is now appealing to the government to help bring her and many other girls suffering from abuse back home. Gina Kirori, NTV.
Could you tell me why it is that we, governments of Africa, governments of countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, and other countries, would be sending our beloved women into the front line, into such dangerous countries to work, to earn a living, to look after their children? Why would we do that? This issue has actually hit home for me. I literally lost a cousin, okay, a second cousin, okay, who went to Thailand recently to look for a job. Her name is Grace Njoki. Grace Njoki, okay, her story is actually in the news. She was a Kenyan woman. She's described as a Kenyan woman who traveled to Thailand for greener pastures, and she died falling sick. They talk about it, you know, so lightly. Traveled to Thailand for greener pastures. Her name was Grace Njoki Mata. Okay, and this is the message that I received from her auntie, who is also my auntie. Okay, hope you're fine. We are okay, but we have a big burden to bring the body of Grace Njoki Mata home from Thailand, where she fell sick and was admitted to hospital. She had gone to work, but on arrival, she fell sick. We request for your prayers and financial support. We have a fundraising on Sunday. Now, listen, guys. This is the kind of message that you do not want to receive. Here is a message sent to me, November 17th. I don't know whether you can see. Do you guys see a picture of a girl, okay, lying in a bed? Do you see that? It's like she's in intensive care, okay? So that is the message that I received, okay? And I was shocked. I was like, what? I had to read it twice because I was like, wait a minute. Is this thing going to come and hit me? Is it going to hit home? Is it going to hit home? Really? So I'm also going to be impacted by this? This was so painful. Now, I decided, of course, we all, I contacted family members and we all tried to do what we could to contribute, I have myself have been hit by this. Yeah, I have also been hit by this. I was so shocked to receive this message. I was like, what? What are you talking about? I asked so many questions. I said, what's going on? What's going on? Now the problem was, here was a complication. This Grace Joki Mata, who died in Thailand, she's a young girl, about 20 years old. She went because she was responding to an advertisement about customer service jobs that are available in Thailand. What I know is that I have been actually working. I worked once in the South Pacific where people from Thailand were running away to look for jobs abroad. What I know is that Thailand has one of the highest levels of migrant workers trying to leave the country to look for jobs abroad. So my question was, how on earth did this child, knowing that Thailand itself has one of the highest levels of migration? So basically, soon after Njoki relocated to Thailand, she fell sick and she was in hospital. You see a picture of her there, with the last hug with her mom at the airport. And I can just imagine, the pain. A healthy young girl, yeah, praying for her daughter. Do you know what it takes to raise a girl? What it takes to raise a child until she's 20 years old? Yeah? So, the last hug with their mother was shared with the deceased as she left for Kenya, for Thailand. And by the way, Joki's mother, this is the second daughter that she has actually lost, apparently. She's lost more than one child. So I tell you, a lot of people are grieving. When I talk about mental health, when I talk about how people are impacted, the kinds of things that can impact your mental health, such as loss, this is one of them. When you lose a child, you lost a child to something like this. It is so tragic because there you are, as a parent, you imagine that you're actually trying to help your child to survive. You feel responsible almost for your child's demise. Because you wonder, what could I have done to prevent my child from passing away? Why did she even have to go? Should I just tell my children to stay home? Should they just not go and look for work? Should they just stay home? And maybe that might be the solution, guys. It gets to a point where at some point you have to make a choice. You either put your child, out there into a country that you have no idea about, or you allow them to stay home. Now, I would never blame anybody, least of all Joki's mother, for example, for allowing her daughter to travel out and go to Thailand. Because I myself traveled. I traveled to so many very scary places. I've been to the Solomon Islands, That means that you have to fly into Australia, and then from Australia take a tiny little plane and go into the Solomons and be in Honiara. And I was there for a long time. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, we risk our lives every single day. But the question is, for women, specifically for women, is it that young women and mothers must leave the country to go to a foreign land, to look for money, to look for a means? Work brings meaning to our lives. Work makes us feel useful. You don't want to become a burden to your parents. You don't want to be a burden to your society. So you do whatever it takes to go and look for work. Yeah. So you can never blame these poor ladies, and their families. But what I want to say is, I myself have met many of these women, for example, Kenyan women at the airports. And I always give them my telephone number. Anytime I see a woman, in Dubai, for example, going to Bahrain, or they're going to Kuwait, wherever they're going, and I see them going to transit, I always ask them questions. Where are you going? Do you know where you're going? Hey, sisi tunaenda tu, tunatafutia watoto. We're looking for money for our children. So I tell them, okay, you're going, but do you have access to the embassy or anything? Say, sisi hatujui mtu, tunaenda tu. We're just going to go. So what I do is I tend to give them my telephone number or my email. I usually tell them, okay, in case of any problem, if you ever have a problem, send me an email and maybe I could help. You never know. So what I want to say is this. Guys, a lot of women are losing their lives. A lot of Kenyans are losing their lives abroad. Okay? Apart from that, you need to know how people are losing their lives. Many people lose their lives in many ways, okay? And this is the most shocking thing. We understand that, over 40% of employable population lives below the poverty line in Kenya. And we see, these opportunities as an opportunity to lift yourself up. Yeah. But the thing is, to what extent are you willing to risk your life? To what extent? Yeah. In a report that was published on November 28th, 2022, on how some women die in Saudi Arabia by the nation, the details have emerged on how Kenyans working in Saudi Arabia have lived in penury after hooked on drugs and alcohol, while others are killed by their colleagues in love triangles. Now, as you can see, Kenya doesn't do its own investigations. But meanwhile, we listen to third-hand reports of love triangles, of women dying because of drug crimes, because of taking alcohol, because of whatever. But you know what? I want to caution Kenyans from joining this crowd, or from blaming the victim, because you see, a lot of this is hearsay. Kenya, we hear the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Labor, they are not doing their own investigations. They have to do their own investigations. We cannot just go by hearsay. We need to know how these women are dying. Why are they dying in these countries? Why? So, for example, we saw that the former governor Sonko actually brought the bodies of like 3 women home at the same time. One of them is called Jacqueline Modhoni. She's only 40, from Meru. Lucy Mwanyae, she's 24. Mercy Mbula, 27, both from Kilifi County. Kilifi is in the coast. So Mr. Sonko had to pay an individual politician. He had to pay for air tickets, mortuary fees, and transporting of these bodies, okay, home to their counties. You have never seen this kind of pain. Okay, so when the plane touched down at the airport, they revealed that some women have been taken to drugs and alcohol and could not afford tickets to go back home. Some of the women are squandering their money and all kinds of other things. But I'll tell you what, all of this is hearsay. I would say close your ears to all of this, because we want to understand, why is it that women who travel to the Saudis, who travel to the Middle East, and especially to Saudi Arabia, why is it that it's those particular women who tend to die? Who tend to die under mysterious circumstances and come back in coffins, compared to women who are going to different parts. And now Thailand, on the other hand, apparently already about 9 Kenyans have lost their lives in Thailand, okay, over this customer service jobs. When you see these quote-unquote customer service jobs, guys, don't run for them. Please warn your family members. Do not allow your family members to get up and travel. There's a big trade. How do the Kenyans disappear? Now, this particular article talked about that some Kenyans disappear without a trace. After being killed, their organs. There's organ trade going on, guys. People are actually bringing you in to take organs, body parts. For example, and I don't want to speculate, but I want to say, for example, when my cousin ended up in Thailand, she ended up in the hospital. The family has a bill of 1.5 million to clear with the hospital. On top of that, they have to bring her back. And in that country, apparently they learned that they don't normally put people in mortuaries. Mostly what they do is cremations. So because of the cremation culture, mortuaries, I guess, may be either very expensive or very few in numbers. So this body had to be transported to Bangkok, to a different place, so that it could be transported to Kenya, because the family would not hear about, having the body cremated. You can imagine you've sent your baby home, you've, hugged her at the airport. The next thing, she's coming back in ashes, and you want to understand what killed your loved one? What killed them? So basically, there's a trade in organs. We don't know whether she came back with all her organs. We know that some bodies are coming back, minus kidneys, minus body parts. Okay? So they say that in this particular article, it says that women, some Kenyans are disappearing without a trace in the Saudis. So what happened in Saudi Arabia, they take their bodies and bury them in the desert, and then they get their passport, send it to the embassy, and they say that this person just disappeared, just ran away from work. But nobody is doing any investigations. And why is that? Why are we not investigating to find out how we are losing young women? So I don't want to make this video very long. I just want to bring up this debate. I want to, jog your minds. I want to bring up this debate and I want to jog your minds, guys. I want you guys to think. I don't want you to sit down and accept this. I want you to think about it and to say, to what extent are we willing to go and look for money, to go and look for means? Are we willing to put our women in the front line? Do our women not matter in our societies? Let me give you an example. Let me tell you guys what happened during Ebola. There was an Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone. This is a little bit, don't worry, just stay with me. There was an Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone, and there was a job I actually did in Sierra Leone, and it took me to the Ebola survivors. And do you know the Ebola survivors who were living, out in the, outside of the city? Those Ebola survivors, I actually interviewed them, and as part of my work, some of the most amazing revelations from those interviews were that women actually died more. Why did women die? They died because they were the caretakers of the bodies. Women are the ones who died because they were responsible for handling the bodies of victims who died from Ebola. So many women contracted Ebola eventually and died. So women are always on the front line of the battle. Whether it's disease, whether it's jobs, whether it's work, you need to understand women in Africa are suffering. Yeah, so women are very, very crucial and important because women are the caregivers in society. If a society is without women, if women are stressed, if women are not able to care for their young ones, they will do whatever and they will sacrifice their lives. Because whether women know it or not, what women are doing is that they're putting themselves in the front line to die for their children who are here and those who are unborn. We women have a drive in us. Yeah, we have a drive that is inborn, that is in us. Okay, to make sure that we care and we nurture for our families. I can imagine my little cousin who went abroad to Thailand because she did not want to become a burden to her family. So whether or not she was a mother yet, she was actually instinctively getting prepared to mother, getting prepared to nurture, getting prepared to look after her family one day. She didn't want to become a burden. Okay, so we must protect our women. And I'm not saying it because I'm a woman. I'm saying it because I know men understand this. One thing that you realize is that even if you have something as simple as a hair salon, which has a massage parlor, you'll find that the men who come for massage do not want to be massaged by other men. They want to be massaged by women. Why? Because women have a special touch. Okay? This is just, we have a role to play, guys. We cannot underestimate the role of a woman. We cannot say that a woman is not important. Women should get up and work. Men, I implore on you to protect women. And I want to say to women, and I want to say to men, please remember to protect women. Please, the government, protect your women. Protect the women, because the women are the ones who are going to be in charge. Okay, when the men are no longer able to function, it is we women who will uphold the households. It's we women who will uphold the country. So for women, I want to tell you, before you decide to wake up and go out and put yourself in the lifeline, make sure that you have looked around to make sure that you are secure. Secure yourself. Because what I can say is that security starts with you, with decisions that you take. Women themselves, women yourselves, you have a responsibility to remain safe, not to make decisions that will put you in harm's way. Please, no matter how difficult life can get, even if you don't have money, please think twice before you think of taking up jobs in Saudi Arabia. It all sounds wonderful. The name is beautiful. Yes, you hear stories. Many YouTubers are coming on board and interviewing people who went to Saudi Arabia and they came back from Saudi Arabia and they built houses and they built. But I want to tell you that these are the minority. These are not the majority of people. Okay? These are actually the vast minority of people. Many people have suffered irreparable damage. Some of them have not died. Some of them have come back and have been lost their minds. Some of them end up going to the mental institution. Some of them, are quiet. They no longer talk anymore. Yeah? Some people just come back as vegetables. Others are operating as if they're normal, but they're not. Because slavery, enslavement, mistreatment has impacts on your mental health, okay, and on the family. So wrapping up now, guys, I want to say that it's time for us to rethink the role of women and to rethink the role of society and where it's placing women. It's time for us to rethink the role of institutions such as the church and the government and educational institutions on their role and their responsibility of promoting and elevating the place of women in society, so that society can start to understand and appreciate the woman more, because women are responsible for a lot in society. Many of these societies, like where I'm living right now in the UK, they recognize the role of women so much that they protect women to whatever point, because they realize that women in the end are the fallback. Okay? We women are the fallback. When the man fall in battle, they come home, it's the woman who's going to nurture her. If you do not have a healthy woman at home, mentally, emotionally healthy woman at home, then you're on your own. Society is literally gone. There's nobody to look after the children, nobody to look after the men in the society. All right? And a lot of men right now are in pain because they don't have the love and the nurture of a woman. And for women, I want you women to start taking your place in society. Start recognizing your own value and your own worth, and say no to those kinds of jobs. The more you say yes to doing those kinds of jobs, what it means is that it takes away the responsibility from men. Say no to do those jobs. If you have children to look after, that's quite understandable. Yes, you need to go out there and provide for your children, but learn to accept where you are. Yeah, work with less, but don't put your life at risk for anything, for the future, because you want to build a big house, because you want to drive a big car, because you want to help your mother out of poverty. No, it's not your role. Your role first is to nurture and to look after your children. And if you don't have children as a young person, yes, you have an opportunity to build yourself from exactly where you are with what you have. Okay, guys? So thank you very much. Please, guys, don't risk your lives. Don't go to Saudi Arabia. Don't go to Thailand. Be careful about those customer service jobs that are being advertised everywhere, because they do not exist. It could be that they're going there to harvest your kidneys, and you do not want that. Okay, cheers guys. Thank you so much. It's been a hard topic to discuss, but a very important topic. For those of you who have been with me for a long time, thank you very much. For the newcomers, welcome. And let's see you again, probably tomorrow. Choo! Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Choo!